Good morning, sunshine. Welcome back to Tiger's Occult. I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I know I took the day off, and I hope you were able to do so too. Anyway, I'm still your friendly internet paranormal researcher and investigator, Dr. Morris, and today's entity is coming to us from the Finland and Estonia region, the Vile Ajatar, also known as the Ajatar with an I, Ajatatara, Ajatar, Ajataro, or what's frankly far easier for me to pronounce, the Devil of the Woods. Again, referring to our three main reference texts, Illy's book Encyclopedia of Spirits, Bain's Encyclopedia of Spirits and Ghosts and World Mythology, and Gailey's Encyclopedia of Ghosts and Spirits, and a smattering of further research. I'm going to tell you where it comes from, how to identify it, what it does, we'll address any ethical concerns, and then we'll make sure we go over safe interaction with the entity if you should ever come across it during your travels. Let's get started with the origins. This one's rather difficult to nail down. Bain's references are all modern secondary sources, which is disappointing, but you've got to work with what you've got. Illy's indicates that this is an ancient Finno-Ugric entity that was banished by Christianity, which would go a long way towards explaining the lack of data available. We also know that Christianity was excellent at overwriting a lot of native legends, so not a lot of information survived. Therefore, outside of, well, it came from Finno-Ugric cultures, we don't really have much of an idea of the specifics of where it came from. I'm sorry, I usually like to be more specific, but that's all I got. For the physical identification methods, her description is almost always unpleasant in virtually all aspects. She's always depicted as filthy. Her dirty hair is long, unkempt, hangs nearly to the ground. Her breasts hang to her knees. She always has a snake or a dragon-like lower body. She's also said to breastfeed serpents and give birth to demons. She's also a bit of a dual threat. Like many Finnish forest entities, she's capable of causing unwary travelers to become lost in a phenomenon known as metsenpieto, or the forest's cover. Metsenpieto is described as a blanket or a cover thrown over a victim, transporting them to an upside-down parallel world where nothing is the same. I would hesitantly hypothesize that this parallel world may be a manifestation of Piola, which is the Finnish realm of the dead. The other threat stems from her ability to spread some sort of unspecified disease. Precise biohazardous information is unavailable, and I am unable to confirm what kind of disease this is, whether it be chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear. We simply don't know. We also don't know what the symptoms are either, but we do know this disease is spread by proximity. Visual contact with the entity is unnecessary, although several sources have compared it to a skunk's spray, which doesn't help us narrow anything down. Many chemical, biological, radiological, or nuclear hazards present with tastes or smells that are unpleasant. Tasting metal for radiological hazards, for instance. Interpol's documentation lists the smell of phosgene oxime as simply unpleasant, which is concerning considering how descriptive they are with other chemical agents. Anyway, I'm getting off track. Let's get back into the identification. None of the information available makes any reference to the Devil of the Woods having ever been human. Instead, it seems to be a purely paranormal manifestation. It also seems anchored to desolate forest areas, unable to travel further than the most remote areas of Finland and Estonia. Lastly, it spreads disease by proximity alone, as previously mentioned. There is no direct visual contact needed to be stricken by its unspecified disease. Stringing all that together, I would identify Ajatar as a Class 5 anchored biohazardous abductor. Quite unpleasant, all things considered. Now, for the folklore tales and legends, like I said, the primary source documentation regarding this entity seems to have been destroyed. It seems to exist faintly in cultural memory alone, so I can't get you any good stories about it that aren't modern fiction. Vaguely, tangentially related, some Finnish translations of the Bible use the term Ajatar to refer to demonic entities, specifically in Leviticus. However, I think that's more of a case of using a local, culturally relevant term in translation, not a direct translation in reference to this specific entity in particular. Ethical considerations. Well, this thing's pretty much evil. Not much in the way of redeeming it, so there's no real ethical concerns with elimination here, if you can manage it. Safe interaction methods. With the deforestation taking place in Finland and Estonia, I am unable to hypothesize what would happen to this entity, but if I had to give it a wild guess, if the forests are destroyed, this entity may either cease to exist or it may lash out in revenge. Either way, I cannot recommend the deforestation of either nation, but that's due to a multitude of other reasons. With the disease aspect, I would strongly advise an M50 Joint Service General Purpose mask and appropriate MOP gear. That's mission-oriented protective posture equipment. Consists of the protective mask, mask carrier over garments like Jay's List, the Joint Service Lightweight Integrated Suit Technology. It's got activated charcoal and all that in there. Rubber gloves and over boots. I'd suggest M9 detector paper, but I'm not sure how effective that would really be. M9 would be useful to maybe rule out nerve and mustard agents, but it's not going to tell us much about biological agents. After all, we don't really know much, so more data would be better, but don't go putting yourself into danger for this. I also can't promise that MOP gear will provide complete protection, but it might give you a fighting chance. The M50 is pretty neat because it's actually really good against chemical, biological, industrial chemicals, nuclear fallout. It's a pretty good mask. Now, if you do get stuck with Metzen Pieto, the recommended solution for that is to actually remove your clothes, put them on inside out and backwards, and walk backwards until you're out of the alternate world. Something about flipping everything backwards seems to confuse the magic that's keeping you there. If you hold your azimuth and continue trying to push forward, you're just going to get more lost like a lieutenant. As far as direct contact and hostile engagement is concerned, it's certainly not something I'd recommend or advise. I can't give you specific loadouts that might help. As always, a shotgun as a high-speed payload delivery system may help. Many cultures seem to recommend 3 specific materials for entities similar to this: sodium chloride or salt, silver, or iron. Maybe candy cane your shotgun tube mag, see what you come up with. Candy caning refers to alternating your loads. The first load is salt, the second load is iron, third load is silver, fourth load is back to salt, and so on and so forth. If you do that, keep track of your shots to see which one is more effective, and then keep your 3 loads separated so you can switch deliberately to the most effective one. Lastly, you might try fire, but that's a really long shot. Keep in mind, Finland and Estonia have very humid, wet, subarctic climates. Dragon Breath shotgun shells are far too brief to make a dent in that kind of moisture. Tracers are a dicey move too, you'll need a lot of them. If you do something with fire, it'll have to be a flamethrower or something serious, not just a gasoline flamethrower. It'll have to be something with sticking and staying power. You could figure that out on your own. Like I said, fire is a long shot. Anyway, that's about all the information I was able to dig up on the Ajatar. I hope you found it informative. As always, like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. You can find me on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, Odyssey. Till next time, fellas, I'll see you down here at the lab.